today we are once again going to be controlling some squirrels. It's a cold day, it's a wet day, it's foggy, it's a pretty miserable day, but once I get into my hide I'll get myself comfortable. And looking at my trail cam footage, there should be quite a few squirrels today. This is the equipment I'm going to be using, but I will talk more about that later on in the video, and it's going to be interesting because I have the new Thermnight on top. So let's get into the hide. Right, so now I'm in the hide. I'll load up this magazine. This is a afternoon session. So I don't expect it to be busy right now, but I know later on in the day, after looking at my trail cam, we should be expecting a few squirrels later on. So I can imagine I'll be sat here for about an hour before I see any activity. So sit out, wait out, try to keep warm, see how the afternoon goes. I wasn't expecting any squirrel to come in this quick. This has only been about 5 or 10 minutes in the hide. I was not expecting them to come in this early. So I've been caught off guard pretty quick here. But I'm certainly not going to complain. The more squirrels come in, the happier I'll be. That's the first kill that I've had with this Thermnight, and I'm always happy to get off the mark with a clean kill. I already know that the rifle is zeroed, I'm shooting very well. But there is always that little bit of doubt when you are recording yourself. You want to make sure that you get a nice clean start. So with one in the bag, we're now looking at number 2, and again, this one has come in relatively early. This is around midday. Don't really expect to see squirrels at this time. Generally they're early morning or late afternoon. You do get the odd straggler midday, such as this one, but we've had 2 already come in. Well, that's certainly boosted my confidence. 2 squirrels have come in very early, 2 clean kills, and now it looks as if we're on for a third, all within the first hour of me arriving. This one was just playing around to my right hand side, but eventually it did come up onto the feeder. There is a track just behind me, so apologies for the noise. There is a tractor just passing by. And I actually expected the tractor to scare the squirrel, but the squirrel has actually stayed there. That's 3 down already, which I'm really surprised at. They don't usually come in. I was expecting them about an hour, hour and a half. Within 10 minutes I managed to get the first one, managed to get another 2. I'll probably tidy them up very soon, and there's a pheasant just knocking about in front of me as well, which doesn't seem deterred. Quite interesting with the thermal on here. It's actually it's quite interesting. You can see things in the bushes behind which you can't see with, let's say, the day scope, or if you've really got to look hard. But yeah, really good so far. I'm expecting some more later on this afternoon. Well, how wrong could I be? Straight after that, another squirrel has come in, and we are still in the first hour. And you've probably guessed that I'm actually having a little play with the Thermnight at the same time, going through its different thermal settings, just getting a feel for the scope. But so far, I'm certainly happy with it. Just collected those 4, and even though I wasn't expecting squirrels anytime soon, I've just got 4 within 1 hour. Let's see what the late afternoon brings. But so far, yeah, really happy with how it's going. More than I expected, because this is usually a quiet feeder. But yeah, I'm happy with how everything's going. It looks as if some of the fog has lifted, because you may have noticed earlier in the video with the camera from my hide it was a little bit misty, a little bit foggy, but that seems to have cleared up a little bit. And now that I'm back into my hide again after collecting those 4, we have another squirrel that's coming in. Watching this one in slow-mo, you can actually see some of the blood trickling down the tree and coming out of the squirrel's skull. So it's quite interesting to see the damage that a 2.2 sub 12 pellet can actually do to a squirrel, and how little power is actually needed as long as you get correct shot placement. Being on a slight hill, you can actually see that when I shoot a squirrel, they always roll off to my right hand side, completely out of sight. Only when I go and collect them later do I see just a big pile of squirrels that I've now got to go and collect. But we're not ready to collect yet, because they are coming in a nice trickle. I think now is a good time to tell you about the equipment that I'm using. So this is the Weihrauch HW100 in 2.2 sub 12. I'm using JTS 16.08 grain pellets. I have the Thermnight 635 on top, the man-bailey saddle clamp, and a Primos trigger sticks, the short version. If you want to know anything about the equipment that I'm using, I've left all the information in the video description below. This is probably the longest I've had to wait so far today. I had to wait about 45 to 50 minutes, which, to be honest, is not really that much of a long time. Unfortunately for me, this one wasn't really messing around, it's just gone straight to the feeder. This could possibly be this squirrel's first visit to the feeder, whereas the previous squirrel knew exactly where to go and how everything worked, where it just came flying in. This one knows that there is something inside, some kind of food, but it can't quite figure it out. But it has got a little bit lucky here because there is a stray peanut just sat on the side. You can actually see the squirrels where they've rolled off to the side, and there now seems to be a healthy pile up of dead squirrel bodies. These are amazing. They don't look big, but they're a lot bigger than you think, and they just keep, just like any thermos, keeping your food nice and warm. Just put a tin of soup in here, and hours later, it's still on fire. On a day like this, where it is really, really cold, this is a lifesaver. They're really good. I'll put a link in video description if you are interested in just something like this. I think I got this from Sainsbury's in the UK. But yeah, these are really good. Really impressed with them. Every squirrel so far has actually appeared from my right on the ground. No squirrel has come from the tree. This one appeared to my right hand side. It's then used the branches to get across to the tree with the feeder on it, so now it's just sat above my feeder. It is a little bit agitated, but to make things worse, just at that exact point when I was trying to aim at the squirrel, my phone, which I thought was on silent, started to ring. So here I'm reaching over to try and shut my phone up. I then swing slowly back over to the squirrel, which has probably heard my phone ringing, and I decide to quickly try and get a shot off before it actually runs away. Well, I was really lucky with that 9th one then, because just as I was lining up on it, when it was at the top of the feeder, my phone started ringing. And yes, it was this idiot. Just started ringing me at the worst possible time. Had to be quick, but luckily just managed to line up on it, and I managed to get that squirrel. Oh, damn you, Roger. Just managed to get the 9th one with no help whatsoever from Roger after he rang my phone, but my fault for not putting my phone on silent. And because we now have 9, I want to get double figures, so I'm going to wait until the 10th one arrives. And I've had to wait about 30 minutes, so fortunately I haven't had to wait too long. I'm hoping this one is going to play ball and actually go onto the feed tray, pick up a peanut, and just sit nicely for me so I can take that final shot. There we are, perfectly sat up for me. But it might help if you cock your rifle first though. And with my 10th shot being fired, 10 out of 10, double figures, I'm really happy with how the day went. Just going to collect these 6, put them with the rest of the squirrels, and that's where I'm calling it a day. that's this session done on the squirrels. Had a really successful afternoon, which I did not expect. So I managed to get these 10 squirrels, and paired with the equipment that I'm using, which I've already gone over, everything works really, really well. Managed to get a decent amount of squirrels, and now this is going to be the last time I'm shooting squirrels for quite a while, as we're now going to go into spring just as winter ends. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and if you want to see any other extra content, please make sure to check out my Patreon. Cheers guys.